Hi, my name's Bronwyn Jane and I'm a psychic medium and a spiritual coach. Let's talk about surrender. Now, if you've been anywhere in any kind of spiritual community, development group, anything like that, you will have heard this word. It's thrown around like confetti. It's up there with the word ego and trigger and all those type of things. So I'm a little bit sick of it, but we still need to address it to understand truly what it means, because it comes up so much, and you're going to be asked to surrender to spirit if you want to work with spirit and all that spirit is, and it's a lot. That's a whole nother ball game. But what is it? Well, I can tell you what it's not. It's not control. It's not manipulation. It's not trying to get what you want when you want it, how you want it, in the box that you want it in. Because sometimes people think that they can surrender and do it to a point. No, it doesn't work that way. Surrender is like wholehearted, you're all in. That's surrender. So if we want to work with energy, think about, like, I break it down into really basic things. Look at this hair I've surrendered to, how crazy it is. You've just got to just go with the flow. So think of energy, right? And electricity and how that works. It just goes where it can, right? Or another great visual for looking for really basic things to wrap our human brain around is, think of water in nature. It doesn't try and hold itself into a circle and create a dam. It goes where it can. Now, if there is sort of a creek or a river, it'll go into that, and then it might go from a river into a creek and then into a stream, and then it'll eventually go into the soil. It just goes where it goes. It doesn't try and hold itself in a particular form or manipulate its environment. It's not what it does. So surrender is going with the flow. It is having ultimate trust, and that's hard. Look, first to admit, put my hand up, I am a recovering control freak, so I get it. Wanted everything just so. I'm talking, a decade ago, but I get it. I totally understand. And I understand the journey that it takes to get to a point where you can let go of control and just trust that what will happen is meant to happen. Now, as I said, not easy, definitely not. How often have you, and this is something I'm going to ask you to sit with and really think about, how often have you wanted a particular situation to work out a particular way, whether it to benefit yourself or someone you care about? We're all guilty of it. If you said you never are, I'd ask you to double check that. So I know that, and we do it because we're coming from a place of love, either love of ourselves or someone else. So I understand. But when we get into that energy and things they look like they may not be going how you want them to, or you're worried they're not going to, sometimes that energy of control comes in. And with control comes in that word that can sometimes be a little bit ugly, manipulation. So that really is just maneuvering pieces around, whatever the pieces are in the situation, relationship, whatever it is, to get a particular outcome. That's what it is. I mean, it can be a lot more than that, but fundamentally, that's what it is. It's moving around energy pieces of the puzzle to get an outcome that benefits you or someone you care about. As I said, if we actually are honest with ourselves, we've all done it. Sometimes we've done it a lot, and often, and it may be a daily practice, and we maybe need to sit with that and consider why. And sometimes it's maybe old habits, maybe it's something that we're working through to do it less. Maybe we've moved past that extreme element of control, but there's still parts of control within us that we're battling to let go of. So it just depends where you are on the spectrum, really, of control. But to surrender, it means trust. And that's hard because often we have been through situations, whether it be relationships, work, all that life is, where we have been given feedback from the situation or the other person that trust didn't work out for us. And so therefore it's hard to trust because they've let us down or it didn't go how we thought it should have went at that point in time. So I understand why trust is hard. I get it as well. But to spirit, the universe, all that energy is. And as I said, that's a whole rabbit hole we could spend years discussing. We won't do it today, though. When we are dealing with that, we need to appreciate that our mind and all that we are in this human form doesn't appreciate all that's coming. It doesn't appreciate why it's coming. It doesn't appreciate why it's coming in particular forms as well. Because we can't see that far ahead. We can't see decades ahead. We can't see why, if a particular situation or relationship didn't work out, why that occurred. In hindsight, we may be able to look back and go, if I'd got that job or that relationship had worked out or I'd got that, or even that relationship started, if that had occurred, then I may not have been on this trajectory and all the things that you would have missed out on based on that. But energy, so spirit and the universe, do know all that. And they can see what's coming. So when you don't get something that you want, it's because they know the long game. And we sort of play the short game. But if you want to be part of that long game with ease and to make your life a little bit more peaceful, I ask that you trust that your spiritual team, the universe, whatever higher power you surrender to, what you gravitate to, that you are pulled towards, whatever that is, that you trust that they know what is best for you. And when you can hold that within you, it's a little bit easier to trust. And with trust, surrender occurs. So if things aren't going as you had hoped in whatever area of your life, appreciate that there's probably a bigger picture at play that you can't quite grasp or aren't aware of at this point in time. And your spiritual team, the universe, they only want what's best for you. So they're helping you to get to that point in time. So trust them. Trust that higher power, whatever that is for you. Let go of control. And when you do that, you can bring in, just by letting go of control, it's amazing the peace and serenity that can bubble to the surface within you when you do that. As I said, I know it's not easy, but if you can practice that sometimes, when you feel that control coming up, that I really want this, so I'm going to do particular actions to ensure that I get it. When you start having those internal conversations, that's your red flag. Hey, you need to let go. You're hanging on a bit tight here. My higher power knows what's best for me, and I'm just going to let go and just see what happens. So Just consider that when those kind of things start creeping up in you, maybe those thoughts start happening, that's your sign that control's kicking in here, and I'm not in that energy of that I need to trust and surrender. And be aware of when those extra things kick in, when we start to maneuver pieces of the puzzle around, whether it be verbally, whether it be through actions, manipulating emotions, all kinds of things. Just remember and be aware when that starts to happen. And be aware also when you start having conversations with yourself that have that similar kind of energy, that self-talk that is not positive. Be aware of that as well and just shut it down. Sometimes we need to just breathe that out. Just like, I'm going to let that go. And if that works for you, do it when you know it's happening. Just go, breathe that out and let it go. And with that intention and with that energy, I'm going to hold that I'm sending it out with trust that I'm going to be okay. The situation's going to be okay. Everyone involved is going to be okay. And even if initially it doesn't look like it's okay, remember, the universe plays the long game. Humans play the short game. So just remember that. And yes, that word surrender that everyone uses, you can sometimes step into that, as I said, which just means trust. Trusting something you are not fully, it's not fully tangible for you. It's not something that you can't see, you can't grab onto, you can't speak to. You have to trust that there is something greater than you that has you and everything that is for you, want the best for you. And everyone involved, there's a whole energy around getting you where you need to be. And they call it the highest good, for your highest good. So appreciate that that is there for you. It's there for everyone. Some of us grab onto it and some of us don't. So I'm inviting you to grab onto it, to be aware of it, and to just let go and let that magic come to you in the timing that it is meant to. Remember, humans with the short game, we've got this issue with time as well. So realize that it will come maybe in a different form to what you expect. It will come to you. What's meant to come to you will come to you at the time that is right, which is not always the human time or the time that we want, but that's when it will happen. So remember, breathe out, trust, that intention of trusting, surrender, all that kind of thing. And just let things unfold as they're meant to. That's surrender. Enjoy the rest of your day, evening, depending on when you're watching this. If you like what I have to say, jump across to my website, bronwynjanemedium.com, and connect in whatever form you feel guided.